Mama, I'm so hot. Hell nah, yes, I am.
Welcome to episode 8 of the UConn basketball show by 860 and UCTV. But today, it's the Tyler Polley show. Today's episode, me and Noah will be discussing UConn's huge win over Marquette last week, and then we'll be previewing UConn's next 2 games. If you haven't already, for some strange reason, maybe you're a Syracuse fan, hit that subscribe button. Alright, Huskies fan, let's roll. We are jumping right into it this episode because Tyler Polley put on an absolute show Tuesday night against Marquette with 23 points in the second half. It started to look really ugly when the Huskies went down to 18 in the second half, but seniors Polley and Whaley led the Huskies to a huge comeback win, beating Marquette 65-54. Wow, what a win, Noam.
That was insane. You said it, the Tyler Polley show. Post-game, Polley was fired up.
Every time I touch the ball in the second half, I'm like, it's going in when I shoot it.
It took Tyler Polley a couple games to get into a rhythm this season, coming off a knee injury. He was out for the Creighton game due to COVID protocols, but UConn is 5-0 when Tyler Polley plays. He scored 23 points in the second half alone. He was absolutely on fire. 8 of 12 field goals, 5 of 8 from deep. In the final 14 minutes and 37 seconds of the game, Tyler Polley scored 23 points and Marquette scored 11. I asked Tyler Polley post-game, when was the last time you felt that hot shooting the ball? I compared it to Florida. It was 29-29. Tyler Polley hit a 3 to go up 32-29, and then a Cook blocked a shot. It led to a Tyler Polley 3 from downtown Mansfield. He buried it. Place went electric, and Tyler was like, yeah, that's a good comparison. Like, that's the last time I really felt this hot. But it, like he said, every time he touched the ball, it felt like he just could not miss. And I know watching at home, every time he touched it, I was like, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it. There was one time he pulled up in a defender's face. I was like, heat check, and then he just buried it. So man, oh man, Tyler Polley, what a game.
And then when he would fake the 3 and he drove right to the hole, it was unbelievable. He looked phenomenal out there. I couldn't believe the performance that he put on. What a win. After the Creighton loss, it really felt like the team kind of needed this one for a little bit of a morale booster. It was a big win. It was very good to see.
Yeah, you talk about Tyler Polley going to the rim. It really reminds me of the last game before his ACL injury when they beat Tulane. I think Polley had 19 points, 11 boards. It was his best game to that point. And that's why the ACL was so devastating. Not just from a team standpoint, the loss of him hurt, but he was really bursting out onto the scene, and he was taking the ball to the rim with intensity, grabbing offensive rebounds, and that's what we saw last night. So on a bigger picture for the game, UConn closed on a 42-13 run. Just nuts. 42-13. Dan Hurley said at postgame, he said, when we went down 18, it was like a boxer going to his stool. They were just taking body blow after body blow. And he basically asked his team, are you guys going to come back, or are you going to stay on your stool? And what they did was they got up, they punched back, and that 42-13 run propelled them to a 5-1 record, 2-1 in the Big East with a big win over Marquette.
Big win. And it was interesting to see, when James Bouknight went down with the injury, someone had to step up. Seniors, Tyler Polley, Isaiah Whaley, they really did. And it was awesome to see, and it showed a lot for the future, because Bouknight isn't going to be able to have, 30 points every game. So we need other guys to step up. It was really big to see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you hope that Bouknight's injury isn't serious. He looked like he was in a lot of pain. James Doran was working on him basically the whole second half. But at the same time, it was a good opportunity for somebody else on the team to step up, and that's where Tyler Polley came in. And I just posted it to the UCTV Sports Twitter. You look at the last 3 games. James Bouknight, 40 against Creighton. Tyrese Martin, 22-10 against Depaul. And now Tyler Polley, 23 against Marquette. Depth was something that we talked about with this team going into the season, and this depth is really showing. And just a little more on Isaiah Whaley. 2 straight games against Creighton and Depaul, he fouled out. He didn't really look like himself. Hurley talked about him struggling a little bit with the intensity without a crowd there. And then last night, a monster 15-point, 13-board game, typical Isaiah Whaley. But it's more than just the stats. He's the intensity leader of this UConn basketball team. Hurley said post-game that he told Isaiah Whaley that he needed to listen to Metallica pregame to get him fired up, and that's exactly what he did. He was diving on the floor for loose balls. He was wearing his emotion and his intensity on his sleeve, and he and Tyler Polley, the seniors on this UConn team, along with Josh Carlton, basically carried UConn to this win last night.
Yes, very big win indeed. And earlier in the week, UConn beat Depaul, making them 2-1 in the Big East. And it was a big showing by Tyrese Martin with 23 points. Any takeaways from that game?
Yeah, I mean, my big takeaway, besides Tyrese Martin's coming out party, was UConn's defense. They held Depaul to just 38% shooting. They followed that up against Marquette, 38% shooting again. I said it on the It's Coming podcast with my co-host Matt Gefford that if UConn holds teams to under 40% shooting, they're going to win a lot of ball games. You look at DePaul's 2 stars, Romeo Weems, Charlie Moore. It combined 14 points on 7 of 20 field goals. And then you look at James Bouknight and Tyrese Martin, 42 points. So that's really a big discrepancy there. And then I know you want to talk about the 2 dunks. It was the UConn dunk show against DePaul.
Man, those dunks were awesome. Right back to back. It was nice for this team to get a comfortable win. You know, it wasn't a really strong opponent, but it was still a Big East opponent. So it was nice to see. And UConn's next matchup is against Butler on Saturday and then DePaul again on Monday. Are you expecting UConn to be 7-1 next episode?
Absolutely. So I'm going to refer to the It's Coming podcast once again, on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Tune in. But on that podcast, my hot take of the week was that UConn was going to sweep this road trip. It was close. I was nervous last night when they went down to 18. I really didn't expect them to come back. But then you look at the next 2 games, they should on paper be easier than Marquette. Butler is number 83 in the KenPom rankings. They lost to Southern Illinois at home, and they're really struggling to get into any sort of rhythm. My only fear is that UConn might have a letdown game. Going into Hinkle Fieldhouse, which is one of the most historic places to play college basketball, I think they might have some fans in the stands, but I don't think they're going to have a letdown. I think Dan Hurley, he didn't really seem too overly excited last night post-game, so I don't think he's going to let this win get to UConn's head. I think they're going to come into Butler, going to put on a strong performance on Saturday afternoon, and then we know what DePaul is. They're really not good. It doesn't matter if you're playing them home or road. You should beat them by 15 to 20 points. That should be a win that doesn't really affect your resume at all, but goes in the win category as a double-digit win comfortably. So yes, it's so. Next time we come together for this show, I really do expect UConn to be 7-1, and I expect them to be ranked in the top 25.
I expect that too. And this season is getting really exciting. Thanks for coming on again, Noam. See you next week.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Go Huskies.
Is he going to stop me? Started with a good block from Sanogo again. Defense creating offense, but watch Kevin. He's just pushing it. Am I going to stop me?